Hey, it's Thunder. Now, there are plenty of mistakes newbies make when they first play any game, let alone GD with its huge difficulty. Every good GD player once was new at the game and probably made most of these mistakes, so let's go ahead and fix them. I want you to take a look at these two clips of a practice run on 9 circles and tell me whether you see a difference. Now, if you didn't notice, you can tell the difference in the placement of the practice gems. What I mean by this is that you probably shouldn't place gems by spamming them and just trying to barely pass parts. If you really want to progress on a level, a way better technique is to place a practice gem at the beginning of every single part so you can learn it more consistently. Another thing is that the flow of the part is totally changed when you start in random moments of it instead of at the beginning. So think that doing the whole segment from the beginning helps you to understand the flow of it better. Just remember to properly use practice. A big mistake in GD is not using audio and visual cues to sync up and time your clicks properly to beat levels. First, let's talk about visual cues, and let's say you're playing a level with a really hard jump. Now, you just can't seem to get this jump right, and you don't get why. But let's say there's a detail in the decoration that might help you. Let's say the end of this spike, so you can perfectly time your jump and make it properly. There are also audio cues in songs which help you to do the same timing effect. For example, I have a friend who is new at the game, and he kinda sucks. Sorry bro. And I recently asked him what he thought limited his skill. And he said that a likely mistake was probably listening to music other than the game's music whilst learning a level or playing it for the first times. Basically, the takeaway from this is that you should try to listen to the music in a level and try to sync your clicks to it. Or you can also simply learn the pattern of the clicks in some cases, like I did in this part of El Dorado. Mistake number 3, and another grave mistake many Geometry Dash players make when first starting to grind the game out, is not pushing themselves hard enough and not trying difficult levels. To improve, sometimes you have to go out of your current comfort level to develop a greater level of skill to beat even harder levels. It's kind of a cycle which keeps going on and you eventually just improve. To do this, for example, and to keep reasonable progression jumps, let's say your hardest is problematic, the Easy Demon 9 circles level. You could consider jumping straight to 9 circles if you're really confident, but a safer progression of levels might be beating a couple of more easy or medium demons which are mainly wave focused, and then finally going on to 9 circles. It might take a lot of attempts, but the skill set gain will definitely help you out. This will help you to build confidence as well as raw skill, and it might be the difference between being stuck on easy demons for a very long time and becoming a very good player. Mistake number 4, and on the other hand of making level difficulty skips, there are the overzealous and overenthusiastic difficulty skips. There is a reason why there are different difficulties in GD, ranging from auto to extreme demon. There's also a reason why these level rankings exist, and why you shouldn't try to beat an extreme demon if your hardest is the lightning road. This isn't supposed to be contradictory to what I said before, but for everything there has to be a balance. Of course, skipping 1 to 2 difficulties doesn't sound like a crazy idea, but if you start skipping from an easy demon like problematic to some level which is crazily out of proportion, such as let's say a list demon, you're making a problem. Now, of course jumps can be great ways to progress and make levels easier after beating the big level, but there are certain issues with making unreasonable jumps. First of all, you may get demotivated and quit the level, wasting potentially thousands of attempts, and if you really get demotivated, you might even quit the game. It's also not the best idea, because in the time it might take you to beat a level way harder than your current hardest, you could have played other easier levels and overall progressed further and more efficiently. Finally, making big jumps in difficulty is a bad decision simply because of how it creates your required skill. Let's say this new super hard level you jump to is a timing level. Well, after beating the hard timing level, you will be very skilled at timing levels. But what about fast-paced levels? That's the issue. If you focus on a single level for too long, you will not know how to play levels of any type. You will only know how to play levels of the certain type you beat, and that's not beneficial for overall progression. Tying in with what I've just said about developing skill sets in Geometry Dash is the problem that many beginners make when first starting out. Now, What I mean by developing unbalanced game mode skill sets is, for example, being a wave challenge player which is absolutely ass at cube or any other game mode. I personally am guilty of this. Back when I was a beginner, I played a whole lot of wave challenges and it made my skill set kinda unbalanced, because the only two hard demons I had for a long time were Fairy Dust and Nine Circles, two wave focused levels. But yeah, essentially, you want to avoid becoming a player whose gameplay is focused only on one game mode, unless you're sure you want to do this. There are many wave challenge players who enjoy only short wave challenges rather than harder extreme demons with other game modes. So this is the way to go for them, but if you want to progress overall, it is better to stay consistent on progressing with regular levels of varying difficulty. And of course, another great tip for becoming better at the game and modes in general is trying to realize what game modes you suck ass at and then playing challenges of said game mode. This will help you to balance out your skills and improve at the game. This mistake is a little bit more technical than the other tips. If you have played Geometry Dash for more than 5 days, you probably will know that the game's difficulty is tied to the frames. For example, shape gameplay gets way easier when you're on 144 and 240 Hz instead of 60 Hz. That's why having the highest frames possible at all times is what you should be going for. So, if you have a crappy PC which runs only 100 FPS without low detail mode on a certain level, it is a clear indicator that you have to turn on low detail mode to boost your frames as much as possible. And we also know about this. Also, if you don't have a really good refresh rate monitor and you want to have more frames in Geometry Dash, you can do this. Here, then you go here, and then you go here, and then you just go to unlock FPS, you tick this box, and you select the number of FPS you want. Preferably 240 since it's pretty much the highest you can go, and it's a really good sweet spot for most players. I know this might sound like bro science and total bullshit, but trust me, it really isn't. The mental aspect of playing GD is very important and neglecting it is absolutely horrible for your skill and mental state when playing the game in general. Of course, there are many tips for this part which I can show you. Firstly, I'll tell you one that hits home for me because I've had this problem before, and it is just leaving stuff for later on if you can't do it now. Leaving stuff for later and procrastinating in general isn't the best thing you can do, but in terms of GD, it may be a good idea. Let's imagine you've been playing for a long time in a single session and you can't seem to make good progress on the level, and it's 12 AM. Well, then just turn the PC off and go to bed. You will certainly play better in the morning. This has personally helped me to beat hard levels. Another great tip for the mental aspect of GD is not letting anger get the best of you, because GD is a game which makes me rage like crazy, and it does so for many other players in the game. I know this sounds very obvious, but you gotta control your temper while playing Geometry Dash. If you can't keep your cool, you aren't gonna make any progress at all, and worse than that, you might stall your progress which you might have made if you were more chill. You can also use your mental state for good. You gotta think that a level which is a bit harder than your current hardest is still possible. Even though you shouldn't burn yourself out by trying a level which is too hard, which I have to say, it is also perfectly okay to take a step back and try an easier level. It's still a good idea to think in your head that you can conquer a hard level and get your new hardest. Overall, you just gotta think that GD is a pretty mentally straining game, and you just have to stay as calm as possible and make sure to take breaks to play your best. Well, those were the tips. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And here are 2 videos of mine YouTube thinks that you will enjoy. So yeah, go watch them. Anyways, see ya.